Okay. Uh, so, do you wish to introduce yourself for the audience?
Hello, Alex, and welcome everybody listening to this podcast. My name is Dr. Edwin Magloire. I am currently on a mission to train a million entrepreneurs in Haiti. And well, that was the initial plan, but then I started getting invites in other countries such as Nigeria and other islands in the Caribbean. So now I say 100 million entrepreneurs in Haiti and beyond.
Oh, that's rather a introduction. Uh, so then, how exactly did you get to where you are now? I mean, I guess you kind of just went over that a little bit, but perhaps in a little bit more detail.
Yes, well, that's a very, interesting story. I actually studied medicine. So I went to medical school, got my diploma, graduated from medical school. But ever since I was a child, I had drawing skills. And even in medical school, the way I would actually learn was through drawing, right? And that's why anatomy class was my favorite because, yeah, I can see it. I'm a very visual person. And I also came across the knowledge that there are different ways that people learn, right? Some people need to repeat by rote. Some people need to see. Some people listen. Some people are more, it's not logical and mathematical knowledge. It's more like it's that's why some people are good at dancing. So this is more like a kinetic way of learning, and etc. So I knew myself, so I'm a very big fan of tests, personality tests. So I knew from a very early age that I was a very visual person, and so you would say that children, when as they grow, they stop drawing, they stop using colored pencils, etc. But I never did. So even in medical school, everything started with that. So I was not aware of a creative field. I'm from Haiti, so we have, I would say, a very limited idea of the kind of professions that a child. Parents typically steer their children into, you're either going to become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. So it's very there's no much emphasis on the creative field, which is a bummer. So I never knew about graphic design or illustration or any of that. But because I could draw, it got me a bit closer to it. So in medical school, we have these things called, it's like open doors, right? Where we invite parents and the communities. So I would say, promotion is supposed to, like every cohort is supposed to organize their own open doors. So when it was the time for my cohort to organize it, we needed a logo. So I was like, hey, I can draw. Maybe I can, whip something up real quick and, we can have a nice logo. So that was actually my first contact with the creative fields. I still didn't know that people were getting paid to do this stuff. So, but we had the internet, so I Googled, I started learning, and I'm like, oh, whoa, this is actually an actual field that people are actually making a career out of. And so I did the logo, and I kind of like fell in love from this day because it felt like, hey, I'm very good at that because I already had that skill. So from that day on, I was a doctor, but also on the creative side of things. And even after my graduation, I met, like serendipity. I would say throughout my whole story, the word serendipity is gonna come a lot. So I met an actual illustrator. I always say he's the best, and I don't think I'm biased. I met an actual illustrator in Haiti. His name is Promethea, and that guy creates magic. And but I like that was what it lives, right? And I never knew that people could make career out of just drawing pretty pictures, right? And then one day I was at his studio, and he was like, Edwin, I have this contract. I don't know if I will have time to fulfill it. Do you think you can whip up a few graphic design icons for this client? And I had no idea how to do it, but I was like, hell yeah. I was not gonna miss that opportunity. So I did it. I did it with his help, with his guidance, with what I call his creative direction. That was actually my first contract, and after that, he gave me a check. And my first check in life was actually a check from the creative industry and not a medical check because I was like literally my last year of medical school. I mean, I just graduated. So when I saw the number of zeros on the check, I was like, yeah, no way I'm going back. So that's how I really chose, I would say, graphic design and the creative fields. Like, oh, this is something I want to do, because I never subscribed to the idea that you can be defined by your diploma, you can be defined by your title in society. I do believe that the Japanese concept of ikigai, which is why you're born here, what your the thing that you should strive to really reach. I always had that. Even I only learned the term, like, I'm not gonna say recently, but along the way. But at that time, I already had that idea in my mind that no, you need to do something that you're comfortable doing, that you're good at, that you have a passion for, and that people are willing to pay the big bucks. So I did that. I started, creating my own designs, my own logos, my own illustrations, and we started getting clients. I started working with him, and then I met the owner of an agency in Haiti, actually, which was the first ad agency in Haiti. They started in 1977. We met in a meeting. He was, oh my God, Edwin, you have a very strategic and creative mind. You need to come work with us. And I was like, no, I'm actually a doctor. Like, I just graduated and I'm going to medical. I'm gonna, it's like, yeah, that's cool, but let's just try something, right? Let's just try. Can you just give us, like, a few weeks, and let's just start with this one project. And it was actually a client that they were struggling with because it was a new technology coming in Haiti. The people weren't necessarily hip to that, and they didn't know, the client at the time didn't know how to actually reach the population to get them to try it. So I guess I had fresh eyes and a fresh brain, and he was like, "Okay, so just give me a proposal. How do you think we should target these people? Well, how do you think we should make that campaign?" So I went back home. I was like, "Hey, it's probably gonna be a nice check, but I'm not. I'm definitely not staying. But let's give it a try." So I tried it, and I gave him a proposal with 10 marketing ideas, and some creative visuals, like the way they should. And he was like, "Yeah, this is it. You're exactly the guy that I need in the agency." So I was like, "Okay, no problem." But like I said, this was just a one-time thing. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. And he was like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna give you an offer that you can't refuse." And then he sent me a letter, um, with, again, a lot of zeros at the end of it. And I accepted. So I joined that agency. I spent like 3 years, I think, there, where I would learn the ropes, I would say, in certain areas that I never developed before. But at the same time, I would say my strategic thinking, because I was hired as a strategic planner. So my strategic thinking was really coming in at the infancy of the campaigns for the big brands in Haiti. Uh, so I learned a lot, and especially my graphic design skills, as well as my branding skills, as well as how to work with a team, because I was kind of like the creative director. So, like, talking to the other designers who don't think like me, who like are smarter than me in terms of design, have more experience than me. So it was a very steep learning curve, because I was more as a solo person, and then you drop. And also there was this, I would say, well, you're a doctor, what are you doing here? So there was this, I would say, friction at the beginning, like, we don't even respect you, dude. Um, but with time, and I got the opportunity to show my skills, to show that I had my place there, and actually, long story short, I became the head of the digital marketing department there. So I would say I learned, like, from that agency. Like, this is, I would say, my alma mater when it comes to marketing and publicity and stuff. So, and then, at a time, like, it got, like, okay, so I'm working with these big brands, like, that were, founded, like, we're talking about 40 years, 90 years brands, etc. And then I'm like, but I don't see any new brands emerging. I don't see any brands from the middle class emerging. And I'm from the middle class, and I'm like, okay, there's something wrong there. What is missing? So I started conducting surveys, like talking to people, and they would tell me, like, well, we have no idea about, like, we don't know what a brand is. We don't know what advertising does. We don't. It's like, we're just doing stuff. We didn't get an MBA. We never been to business school. We're just doing this to survive. And this is when I felt like maybe this is where I need to be because I already had teaching experience. Right after my medical school, I was also teaching at my teaching anatomy, and I was like teaching dissection. And this is not like where you are. We're actually working on actual cadavers. So I felt like I always had a great way of conveying difficult and hard stuff for people to understand because that I'm a teacher. I do feel like I am a teacher. So I was like, maybe this is where I need to be. So long story short, left my agency, launched my own. And so not only I launched Brand Pill, which is my branding creative agency, but I made sure that we had a department called Brand Pill University where I get to meet and talk to entrepreneurs about not only branding and design but really business, how business works, like what is business? Because one of the things I noticed is that most of the time they come to you and they're like, I need a logo. And then when you analyze it, no, you don't need a logo. You need something much, deeper on your business. Your whole business model needs work. So it really felt like, um, do I really just paint over, the car and tell them, just give me your money and I will give you a nice looking car, but it wasn't going to work because 5 blocks later that car would break down, and I didn't feel comfortable. To me, that's a ripoff. So I always felt like, no, let me get under the hood, make sure that you have an actual working business model and that you have the opportunity to grow. So I felt like educating these entrepreneurs was going to be a lot more valuable than giving them a world class logo. So I combined these two things, like teaching entrepreneurship, branding and stuff, and as well as providing branding services for companies. That was a long answer. I hope you got what you wanted.
That's just fine. So you started as a medical student. You're planning to go into the field of medicine. So I'm just gonna make a guess that you like helping people.
Yeah. I mean, I was born in a very humble, modest family. We did not have much, but one of the things that I noticed from a very young age, the little that we had was being shared. The little that we had, I still remember my mom telling me here, and that would be a canteen like full of food, wrapped in a handkerchief, and she was like, "Here, go bring this to Miss So and So, like a couple of houses like right next to us." So this was me. I grew up not from my own volition. I did not understand what I was doing, but I grew up with my mom telling me, "Here, bring this to this person, bring this to this person." So I, I grew up with this habit. Like whatever it is that I have, I don't care if I'm not a millionaire yet. I don't care if the little that I have, even if it's knowledge, and that's why I make it a point to teach weekly. I don't teach. I don't have an actual institution that people are paying me to teach. Like I decide, no, I need to teach weekly. So even if it's knowledge that I can share, I will. And yeah, like when it comes to medicine, and that's one of the things, the questions that I get a lot. Like, why did you leave medicine and started doing this like pretty pictures on papers? And I always say, well, at the end of the day, you're helping. And even when I was in medicine, I never thought I would be a clinician. I always thought I was going to do public health because I want to help as many people as possible at the same time rather than one on one. So I do have the same public health approach because when I help a business survive, when I help a business get their ROI faster, when I help a business, I'm keeping people in jobs, first of all, right? So not only am I helping that entrepreneur, that business owner, but I'm also helping the people that these people employ. I'm helping the whole economy. And I'm not saying that just to say that, well, being a doctor is bad or it's not enough for me. Not at all. I had some moments that I cherish to this day in medicine where I save lives, and I've seen what it does, but I've also seen greater impact on what I do in this marketing and I would say business area as well. So at the end of the day, it's still helping people. This is the bottom line, and I'm glad that you highlighted that. But it's just different ways of doing it.
Yeah. So this urge to help people is something that got ingrained into you by your family. So I will say, it seems that good upbringing is indeed a factor in, I'd say, 4 or 5 of the people I've interviewed so far. Yeah. Oh, I'm assuming that you did have a good relation with your parents then, and the rest of your family.
Oh yeah. I I sometimes when I look back on my blessings and I think about like the way I grew up, like the way, like the place that it's like, oh my God, do I deserve this? My parents are amazing. Like I said, very modest, very humble, came from nothing. And I've seen my dad like literally work his, oh my God, like he's such a hard worker. And he put all, like my parents, like for example, did not go to college, right? But my dad worked hard. My mom worked hard and like was really, I would say, a co-pilot in this whole ship that was my family. And they got together and they put my oldest. I'm the last of the family, right? So my older brother studied medicine, so private school. My two other sisters, one of them studied education. The other one studied diplomacy, and I studied medicine. So these two people who did not finish college actually worked like a 9 to 5 and put their 4 children through college. And the most beautiful part of it is they instilled in us, I would say, not only, yes, they sent us to church, but they never actually let the priest be the end all be all of our spirituality. They always made sure that, look, I know you're hearing some things. I know you're reading the Bible, but you understand that you need to create a personal relationship with God, and that just going to church is not going to be enough. So all these things, when you put them together, I feel like if I had a chance, and a lot of people say that, oh, Edwin, you're a genius. Like, why don't you go to the U.S. or, it's a shame that you were born in Haiti and etc. But I always say, no, if I had the chance to press reset and I had the opportunity to choose a place to be born again, it would have been Haiti and it would have been in my family with that dad and that mom. I would not change anything because I feel like the things that I have, I know the things that I don't have, there's a huge list, right? But the things that I have, I do believe they are essential. And I do believe they are what makes me, who I am. Like all of the things that I share with other people are things that other people provided me. And like that's why I always make sure I give credit to whoever's like started something, right? I That's why I mentioned Triplet. That's why I mentioned my parents, because like the other day I did a class on personal development, and I was like, there is no such thing as personal development, because if you're reading a book, somebody wrote it. If you're watching a video, somebody shot it. If you're listening to this podcast, Alex had to step in and start it. So you're doing your personal development, but at the end of the day, it's through someone else, so it's not really personal. So it's my parents, like everybody who ever touched my journey, my path, are responsible for all the good that I can bring to the world, and that's how I always see it.
Yeah. Let's see, there's a couple of things. So first of all, it comes to mind is treat others the way you want to be treated. And then the other one is what goes around comes around. So I'd say you're a good product of the two of them. You treat others the way you want to be treated, and the good that you bring, well, I do hope it's going around and coming back to you.
Thank you.
So, I believe we've sufficiently introduced you and your background then. So, do you have any interesting stories that you'd like to share?
Actually, now that you've mentioned what goes around comes around and treat others as you would want to be treated, you reminded me of a story where I uttered these exact words. I don't know if you ever heard of the January 12th, 2010 earthquake that hit Haiti. It was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that like hit the capital, and like 90% of the capital was destroyed. I was still in medical school. I was in class actually at the time when that happened, and thank God the school was kind of like intact. So everybody just went through the yard, and well, there was a lot of emotion. Everybody would. This was our first earthquake. I didn't even know what an earthquake was at the time, like because what is this? And I remember, there was a lot of emotions. People were crying, and everybody was just trying to make sense of what happened to them. And I remember I left the school, walked a bit, and there was a shanty town right behind the school. And while the school was intact, there was a lot of damages in the shanty town because it's a shanty town, right? And I remember I did not, the first thing I thought was, we need to do something. So I went back to the medical school, like, uh, got to higher ground, made a big speech. Hey guys, I know this is complicated. This is new for you, and a lot of y'all are you're in shock. But there are people out there, and I'm not saying everybody, but I'm pretty sure the people who are more advanced, who know CPR, who know first aid, could possibly help. So who wants to form a team? We could dispatch, like you could be team leader, I can be team leader, etc. Let's just go out there and do what we can to save these people. And of course, I got some resistance, I would say, even from people that you wouldn't expect. But at the end of the day, it wasn't in me to just stand there, right? And I remember I asked one of the people who were responsible if I could use the stretchers, because we did have class on first aid and etc. So if I could use the stretchers and he was like, no, this is the school spot. This is the school property. And in my mind, I'm like, why are we thinking about this in a situation like that? So I kind of disobeyed my superior, went back to the classroom, took the stretchers, dropped them down, and told the students who wanted to help to just follow me. And a lot of the people were resistant. Their argument was, but we don't even know if our families are safe. And I was like, well, that's exactly what it is. You're here now. So you need to do something where you are and help these people and keep your faith that the people who are close to your family are doing exactly what it is that you're doing now. You cannot help your parent that is in another town or so far from you right now. You need to help the people who are in close proximity to you, and believe that, hope that the people who are close to your parents are doing the same thing. So I did not get unanimity, but I do believe the people who listened, they started like tearing off their coats, so they can make bandages. It was a beautiful show of, like, for me, that's what Haiti was. And I think that's another blessing that I got from where I'm from, where I live, right? I grew up in a place called, like, it's like a Communauté Sainte Marie. And one of the things I grew up watching is whenever people had to clean the space, it was never just one person. It was the whole people in the like they would come get to that terrain, and someone would come with a big Dutch pot and start cooking for everybody. So it was in Creole we call that a combit, which is just getting together and doing something, right? And this is also it's on our flag, like there is strength in unity. So that's what I grew up seeing, that not just reading it from history books, I saw it. I saw that, oh, like they cleaned the whole space like in such like so little time, but it was because they got together, they bended together, and they did it. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Like if we get together, we put ourselves together, that we're gonna make this happen. And of course, you still need a leader, because I remember one of the things that happened is they started putting people on the stretchers, and just they were just walking around with them, and I'm like, where are you going with this person? And it's like, I have no idea, I'm going to this or that hospital. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't know if that hospital is not full yet, and you don't know if that person that you're carrying is the person who needs the most like intensive or immediate help. So we need to do a little bit of triage. So I kind of like helped the situation not turn into chaos. But at the end of the day, like I said, it was a beautiful show of the Haitian spirit. And I always thank my parents. I always thank my upbringing for understanding Haiti. I did not discover what Haiti means at school. I did not read it from a book. I saw it. I lived it. I grew up with it, and that's what's still ingrained in me. And that's why I'm always making sure that wherever I am, I'm going to show that Haitian spirit, which is getting together and helping other people, regardless of what you have. You do not have to be a millionaire to help someone.
Yeah. So what is it? Together we stand, divided we fall.
Definitely, definitely. There's no other way of you don't, and even on the evolutionary standpoint, you would you can't say that, okay, I'm gonna reach nirvana, or I'm gonna become one with God alone, and etc. Like, this is, we're on a journey together as a people. And I talk a lot about Haiti because I'm so proud, and I do believe that, oh man, this country gets such bad rep that every chance we have to actually set things straight, we have to. But at the same time, I do not identify the same way. I do not identify with, I'm just a doctor, or I'm just a creative, or I'm just a marketer. The same way I don't think I'm just a Haitian. I do believe we as a species need to come together and understand like why we are here and where we need to go next. This is very important.
Yeah. So I think I can see why John calls you a godsend.
He never told me that one.
Well, when I was asking him for your contact information, when he sent it to me in that very same email, he called you a godsend. So
Yeah, he never told me that. He tells me things like, "Oh, Edwin, you're a genius," or "You're the Da Vinci of Haiti." But we never got to talking about the part where I'm a godsend. I think we're all godsend, though, aren't we? I
yes,
think maybe I think maybe the difference would be that I'm aware of it, right? I do believe there's a certain age that everything you do needs to be intentional. So I always make sure that everything I'm doing is intentional. I know I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this contract. I'm going to refuse this contract. Everything that I'm doing needs to converge towards my mission in life. And I do believe that everybody is born with a mission, and it's very important for you to not only know yourself, and that's why I'm fond of personality tests, but to do introspection, to understand like, why are you so good at certain things, whereas I'm just going to give you an example. A family of four, right? And I'm the last. And there's so many things that I can do that the others cannot. And there are so many things that my brother can do, and I'm like, I can't, because that's his thing, right? And so I do believe that we all have talents that we're born with, but the goal is to use it to help others rise, right? And like I said, it's intentional. It's I'm not teaching just to teach. I understand the impact that my teaching is having, right? And that's why I can prioritize as well. That's why someone can come and tell me, yeah, I'm gonna fly you to London for a contract, but there's so many restrictions that you're not gonna be able to teach every week, and I can say no. I'm comfortable just staying where I am and without those zeros on my bank account, because I understand that my purpose is ingrained with whatever it is that I'm doing. Because, like I said, I know my mission and I'm on the path of realizing that. So it helps you. You're leading your life. Your life doesn't happen to you at this stage. You know exactly what you're doing, and I feel like it's important for anybody to figure out who they are, why they're here, and to just dive into that. And everything else is just gonna fall like into place.
Yeah. Well, you say that life doesn't happen to you. I will disagree. When you said, in your example in medical school, when that earthquake hit, that's something that life does kind of happen. I will counter. I do agree with you that you need to take charge. I think that's a good example of you taking charge and making the best of the situation and not allowing life or other situations to dictate the terms.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you're not God. You're not in 100% control. What I meant to say is that, for example, that situation allowed me to show that I am a leader. Actually, it helped me discover that I was a leader because this was one of the biggest. Like I've never done that before. I've never stood on a podium and started saying, "Hey, everybody, please pay attention to me." That was scary, a bit more scary than the earthquake for me at least. But what I'm trying to say is that it life will always happen, right? It's the circumstances, like meeting John, for example, meeting you. Like I did not decide, I'm gonna meet Alex, right? So it did happen to me. But what I do believe that there is, I would say, and this is a bit in biology as well. In biology, there are cells, they just keep sending out signals and nothing happens. But they just keep sending it. Nothing happens, and you have no idea, like, why are they sending all these signals? And when they reach a maximum capacity, like when there's enough of those signals like that reach the brain, then something happens. But it could be years. They could spend years, like sending those signals and nothing happens, and you're wondering why is this. So this is called quorum sensing. And whenever that happens, and the actual action that this signal is supposed to bring about happens, and you have no, like, you think it's abrupt, you think it just happened, but in reality is you just kept sending the right signals. And I do believe, even though I did not meet John physically, my actions, the way I see life, my growth allowed those signals to reach John's signals, right? And your signal, and I do believe we're just a big network, even if we don't see the cables, right? Humanity, in my mind, is just a big wireless network, and the people who think the same way, the people who do the same things, the people who are gut sent, if you want to say it like that, they are connected whether they meet physically or not, right? And these things, these actions, these situations, they come together, and then you call it a coincidence. Some people who are a bit more aware say, no, that's not a coincidence, that's synchronicity. And but at the end of the day, the gist of it, in my opinion, or let's say in my experience, is that we are connected beyond just physicality, and that's a big network that is global, planetary, like really universal. So yeah, you have a bit of control, but you're part of something that is so much bigger than you that you just need to do as best as you can, and hope that you're actually making the machine go forward and not backwards.
Yeah. Leave things better than you found them.
Definitely.
So, how did you go about meeting John anyway? Since he's the little linchpin that's linking us right here.
Yeah, well, I went through a program called the Bell Initiative, and that is an entrepreneurial exchange program. So this was actually the first time I ever traveled. That was in 2019. So prior to 2019, I had never gone to the US. So I applied with a business, with a tutoring business that I had at my old medical school, actually, where I would teach. It was more like knowledge transfer, which is my mission, knowledge transfer. So what I did is I noticed that people who came to university had no idea on how to succeed at university. because the whole system is very different here. School, traditional school, is really you learn by rote, and there's a teacher literally telling you everything that you need to be doing. But that's not how you survive in university. You need to active learning. And they had no idea what this is. Active learning, like learning on my own, doing research, not, reading things that my teacher did not tell me to read. That wasn't, obvious to them. So what I did is I created this program with my girlfriend at the time. We created it and we made the second year, like the sophomore students, teach the freshmen, like, this is how you study, this is how you succeed, this is how you make it happen. So we created this tutoring, but partnership. We created pairs between the sophomores and the freshmen, and that was new to the university. So we got a few accolades for doing that. So this program, I wanted to take it to the next level. So I applied with it to the Bell Initiative, and I got accepted. And when I flew to the U.S. for this program, John was one of the instructors in the University of Iowa. And yeah, we got a month worth of training on the lean startup methodology.
Lean
So yeah,
methodology.
the the actual class was lean methodology, and John was teaching. He was a co-instructor with another instructor called Paul, and it was, like I said, one of the reasons why we connected. A lot of people think, I mean, a lot of people from that same cohort thought, oh yeah, Edwin became like very close to John because of his English fluency, right? But in reality is that I was already aware of those concepts of the lean methodology, the business model generation, because I used to read those books back when I was in medical school as well. So I always saw myself as a, like I said, citizen of the world. I never was in a box. I've had many occasions where people tried to put me in a box, but I never stayed there for more than 1 second, right? So I would read about a lot of things, and I teach myself so many things, right? I taught myself English, for example. So I would read books, that I had no business reading. And like business model generation, that was before I had a business, before I wanted to become an entrepreneur, like just to know. And again, this goes back to my parents. My dad would save up money and then would come home with what? A video game? A new flat screen TV? No, books. Big encyclopedias that, we would spend all summer reading them from cover to cover. So, it was really about just knowing stuff. So because of that, I kept the habit, and right now I can't stop, even though I feel like I shouldn't be reading this much at this stage. I just focus on work, but it's an habit that's ingrained in me as well, like just reading, and it's never just something that I need. It's common knowledge. You need to know things, what's happening, what's going on, where Apple is going to go in 2030, and etc. So I knew those concepts. So when I noticed that the class was about it, I kind of like became his, second, like his assistant, even though I was a student. And actually, I was one. I made history as the first fellow to have a class in his own cohort. So I made a course on branding while I was also a fellow, and I should have been followed. Like, you get the point. So yeah, I that was always me. Teaching was a big part of my life. Like I said, I taught in medical school, I taught in art school, and now I'm trying to teach entrepreneurship on my own. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna veer into something bigger. So yeah, I was kind of like John's assistant during this whole course, and so we really connected. And like I said about that core, I'm saying same part. What really got us, made us connect, is you realize that hey, there's a lot of similarities between us. We've had a lot of experiences that are very similar, and the signals are the same. Like the signals are literally all the same, and he always feels like, yeah, okay. So you like everything that he knew about that he would share, and I would have a similar parallel story, and we would share, and they were like, you see. So that's how we bonded, and we kept in touch ever since. I doubt other people from my cohort besides one or two. I'm sure kept in touch with John, but for me, it's like we talk every week, right? So we really connected in that way.
Yeah. And this was relatively early on in your career.
Definitely, 2019. My first business, I would say, was this tutoring, mentoring thing, and so I applied with it. So at that time, I did not necessarily know. I did not have experience, so I didn't know what I was doing really until that moment. But I'm meeting John. From then on, I understood the concept. I understood that actually these are things that are more valuable in Haiti than anywhere else, because the lean methodology actually is about building a big business with the as little resource as possible. So nothing applies more because we have nothing here, right? So I was like, oh, this needs to be taught. So I took it back, and and actually, that's one of the things. Like the program makes sure that you come back to Haiti and implement. And what I did is, instead of implementing my business, I implemented the teaching of this thing that can help, all the other businesses in Haiti. So I made sure that, yeah, I'm gonna start something on my own and to be sustainable, but the focus is like taking that one month course and make it a lifelong course in Haiti. So it's again in the spirit of giving back what I was given for free. Yes, I earned it. I always say, like, yeah, you whenever you receive something, it means you earned it, right? So I would say I was ready for the opportunity, but at the same time, I did get this for free. Therefore, it's my duty to give it back to other people for free and help as many people as possible rise up. So that's what it was.
Yeah. And a little bit more example of the, treat others as you want to be treated and what goes around comes around and all that.
Yeah,
It's all,
definitely.
it's all cyclic. And, well, it's supposed to be. I'd have to say it's the people who are outside that cycle that are.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't have to be afraid to say it. They are, and I was having this conversation yesterday, and we were talking about the way some people view life. And my opinion is that they're not living. And the only thing I can feel for them is pity, because if you're only thinking about yourself, then I like metaphors and analogies. What you are is a cancer, because a cancer cell is a cell. I'm not saying, like, you're a cell, you're inside the organism, you have all the right to be there. But what happens is they start taking up too much, right? We have like the cells have a set date that, okay, you need to die, and they refuse to die. And they just keep taking a bunch of resources, all the resources from the organism. All the sugar goes to them, all the proteins goes to them, and they kill the organism that they're inside. And at the end of the day, they disappear as well. So that mentality of it's just me, 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 and I'm not thinking about the others. This is the cancerous way of seeing life. And I always, like, I'm not munching my words. This is what it is. This is what you are if you're greedy. If you think your riches need to come from the labor of other people only, and you're not compensating them fairly, this is the cancerous way of seeing life.
Yeah. It's not fun when you think about it. And it's unfortunate that some people are just so short sighted. I'd say it's. Some people would say it's human nature to be greedy and cruel. I would say it's human nature to reject the natural world. The natural world would have us be like that, would have us be so single minded and short sighted. It's human nature to push beyond that and be something more.
Yeah, well, what I think that goes back to is, what is a human? If you do not have the actual definition of a human, then you would say, no, we're animals, so it's normal that it's survival of the fittest, the strong survive and the weak perish. And that's if you think you're an animal. But is that the definition of a human? Are we really animals, or are we spiritual beings in animal bodies? So it's very, like I say, very different. It starts with the mindset. And I was thinking about that. Same with Haiti when I said it has a bad rep. It depends on who's looking. It depends on who's writing the story. So the journalist can start the story by Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But that same journalist could have started a story about Haiti, one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And there's actually a Forbes article that came out that lists Haiti as one of the best countries in the world, with Indonesia being the first, of course. But based on the criteria, based on the lenses that you're looking at your circumstances with, then you define what your life is. You define what reality is. So, like I said, are we animals? Then yeah, be greedy, be cancerous, survival of the fittest, etc. But if we're more, then we need to aim and strive for more, like you said.
Yeah. So then, I'd say we've covered up until 2019 of your life. So, just a quick question: how old are you? Because you look about.
I'm turning 35 October 23rd, like in a couple of weeks.
I,
35. I will no longer be young.
I was gonna say you look about 30. So, yeah,
Yeah, I try to, stay in shape and hit healthy. So I would understand that.
yeah. So, this is probably going towards about nearly an hour. So, um, what I usually like to do is these will be about an hour, and then if there's any more stories that you want to tell or you want to come back on, I can do a second episode with you. So, also, I don't want to have just a crap ton of footage that I have to edit down all at once. That's something I'm
Yeah, no,
sure you
I,
can understand.
I totally understand. And I think we've covered most of it. I think maybe we could end with, I don't know, a message that, I want to tell your audience or something like that. I don't know.
If there's a message that you think people need to hear, then go ahead and say it.
Yeah, I would, basically, it's you're the author, right? Like we said, yes, life happens. Yes, there's a lot of things that you cannot control, where you're born, who your parents are. There's so many things that you have no control absolutely over. But what you have control over is what you can do. So figure that out. Like figure out what you can stand on, and that's one of the things I always say in my classes: stand on what you have. So there's a part of my life where I could stand on my medical degree. There was a part of my life where the only thing I could stand on was my pencil. And so there's so many things, right? Right now I'm doing this interview because right now I'm standing on my relationship with John. So always figure out what it is that right now I have that I can stand on and that I have control over. So how can that thing that you've probably been neglecting all your life, like my drawing skills, um, how can I use that thing to reach the next level? How can I what's the next move that I can make with the arsenal that I have in my disposition? It might not be a big thing, very small, maybe someone you already met. So it's your contact, your phone. I'm pretty sure everybody who opens their phones, they have at least 100 contacts. But how many of these people have you ever reached out to? Like five, two, three, right? So if you could just, you know, target those people who are already in your contact information and figure out, hey, how can I use these connections or my past experience to actually get ahead in life? And like I said, it's really the you're the author, right? And you decide if you're gonna see the negative, like forest country in the Western Hemisphere, or if you're gonna focus on the positive, like okay, we have these beautiful things. So that's my message, really. You're the author. You might not be a full author, like full like creative license, but you're definitely the person who has the more to say in your own story. So make good use of that power.
Yeah. Well, that's a good message to leave it off on. Well then, thank you, Edwin, for showing up on my podcast. Uh, I'd say it's nice meeting you, and these were some good stories. These are good lessons. I hope someone can get something out of this. I hope you, viewer, can get something out of this. Um, a few times, sometimes there's resources that I've left in the description. Are there any resources you would like to provide, like a link to or something that, once the video is done, they can scroll down to the description and click them?
Oh, so many, man, so many. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, which is a book from Stephen Covey that I read. How to Win Every Argument from Madsen, Pirie. I mean, there's too much. Like, there's absolutely too much. But what I could do is get back with you and give you the list of basically all the books that stayed in my mind because it got to a point where I read so much that I would forget.
Yeah.
But some of them I would say are key. I would definitely share with you.
All right, yeah. Go ahead and compile a list, send it to me as an email, and then I'll try and provide like at least a list of names in the description.
Definitely, I will do that. And I also want to thank you for inviting me. I really hope that anybody listening to this can feel inspired and that they got something positive out of this because that's my goal.
All right. Well, thank you again for showing up, and I hope to see you again in the future.
No problem. Bye.